Senior Moments, sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Senior Moment Show. My name is Bryce Patton, here with the fabulous Sid Roeder. Sid, how are you?
Always great when you call me fabulous. What can I say?
Oh, that's good. You know, it's a new year, new things happening.
Yeah, it's a new year and good things coming, 2025.
I hope so. It'll be great. Well, we have a wonderful guest, but before we get to our guest, you want to tell us about our sponsor?
I'd be delighted to. Our sponsor is the Empowering Seniors Group, which is a group of professionals that have dedicated their time and effort to provide information to seniors, their family members, and really anyone that cares. And we do so via this radio show. If you'd like to learn more about the Empowering Seniors Group, you can do so online at empoweringseniors.info, or you can email us at empoweringseniorscv@gmail.com, and the CV stands for Cache Valley. And lastly, if you have any suggestions for this show, anyone you would like to see us invite, you can call me personally at 435-512-6406.
Thank you for doing that. I do appreciate that you do that. It's terrible. Either way, anyway, let's get to our guest. We have Alan Thorne with RT Med Mobile. Alan, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Well, you can tell by my voice I've been a little under the weather, but that's all right. Alan, so you've been on the radio in the past with other companies years ago, but
Yes.
Now with RT, you want to kind of tell us about yourself and kind of what RT Med Mobile is?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, and thanks again for having me on the show. Glad to be here. So RT Med Mobile is a company that we started to help serve some of the mobility needs of Cache Valley. So my background has been in wheelchairs. And for years and years, I've helped people get new wheelchairs and fix wheelchairs and maintain some of that home mobility in the Valley. Now I've got my own company doing that. So we do manual wheelchairs, powered wheelchairs. We've also expanded to a kind of an underserved population here in the Valley, and that's we help install wheelchair ramps for exterior of the homes, stair lifts, vertical platform lifts, anything that we need to help make people's mobility inside their home more adequate. And that's been a really, really good change for the Valley. We've seen a lot of really good success in that area.
So who is typically people that call you in the Valley?
As in age groups or needs?
Yeah, pretty much anything.
Okay. So the people that I work with the most, like I said, tend to be wheelchair users, and for a variety of reasons. But people who are unable to safely get around their home because of fall risk, because of disability, anything like that, those are the people that I'm working with. And I'm able to help recommend what kind of devices they need as far as if they need a wheelchair, if a walker is adequate, but then also if someone is having a hard time getting up their stairs, what are some of the solutions that can solve that? And there's multiple that are actually fairly affordable to help people stay in their own home and be able to safely move around. So the people I'm working with primarily are those with some of those limitations of safely using their home and staying in their home, and we can make the modifications to their lifestyle, their equipment, or their home to help them stay there and be safe a little longer.
So what are kind of some of those trigger thoughts or words that they have as it's like, oh, I need to start talking to somebody about getting something else in my house to make sure I'm safe? What are some of those words or thoughts?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I think the biggest, most common thing I see is fall risk. And so if you've got mom or dad, they're in their home, you're not able to check on them all the time, and we're just noticing that their balance isn't quite as good as it used to be. We're worried about getting a foot stuck on a rug and having a fall, which at a certain point can lead to fairly serious injuries if we're not watching that really carefully. So that's the biggest trigger, is when someone's life has changed to the point that we're worried they might slip and fall, that maybe they can't get up and down their stairs safely, and we're a little concerned about their stability. That's really when I should be talking to them. I don't want to be coming in after a serious fall, because then there's a lot of other issues that have to be dealt with. If we can plan ahead and we say, your stability's struggling a little bit. What can we do now to maintain what we have so we're not having to rebuild after a serious injury? So that's usually the best time for me to get involved.
So that brings me to my next question. So you make actual house calls and assessments, in-home assessments with clients, right? So, I mean, just to maybe tack on to the issue with the rugs, I mean, is that something you might talk about during an assessment, that it might be wise to remove these rugs and do certain things to reduce risk?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So another big part of what we do with RT is in my years working with wheelchairs and helping people get wheelchairs, it's fairly obvious these people have a hard time getting out. So if I'm saying, oh, you need to come meet with me at my office, or you need to come look at the equipment I have on display, it was actually a huge challenge for them. So we've built our whole business model over an expert in your home sitting down on your couch with you, and we're looking at, what are the trip hazards in your home? Can those be alleviated? Because if I can get rid of a rug you might trip on and give you a good walker, that could save thousands of dollars in medical equipment. So when people call me, I'm setting up an in-home assessment, and I'm sitting down with them. We're looking at their daily needs. We're looking at their environmental situation, and then we're considering equipment to solve it. So the goal is the lowest cost alternative in the convenience of their own home, so we know how they're going to use the equipment and where they're going to use the equipment. And that's been really beneficial for people, not having to stress about how they're going to get a ride downtown to look at equipment, but actually have someone sitting on their couch where they're going to use it. And that's been really big for our community here in Cache Valley.
That's awesome. Is there anyone else in the Valley doing house calls like that? Do you know of?
Not at the same level that I'm aware of. Now, I don't want to speak for other companies. There could definitely be other people doing services like that. And I personally know some therapists that will go in and will help people in their homes, and I work closely with a lot of those people. But as far as personal care, we're one of the most involved.
Now, those visits that you're doing in-home, if someone calls and wants you to go out and do an assessment for their mother's living situation and her fall risk, now, do those evaluations cost anything, or is that something that you do and then make a game plan for free on the side?
So not the initial visit and evaluation. I'm not charging for those currently because sometimes we can get in and come up with a really low-cost alternative. For some follow-ups and labor relating to that, we'll have prices, but those are always going to be quoted and up front to let people know what it's going to cost them to come back and do the work that needs to be done.
So under what circumstances does insurance pay, or can you take insurance?
Also an excellent question. So right now, we're able to bill Medicaid. We're in the process of getting the Medicare stuff all done so we can start billing Medicare here in the Valley. And the things that we can get for those are very specific. So if you're going to go through Medicare, it's wheelchairs, power chairs, manual chairs. Those tend to be the most common things that I see as far as being able to bill insurance. Unfortunately, stair lifts, platform lifts, porch lifts, elevating lift chairs, all those, Medicare does not help pay for those. Insurance doesn't help. So those all tend to be cash pay. Nice thing is when I do these consultations, we can go over all that so people, their expectations are set fairly realistically.
Thank you, Alan. We're already coming up on our first break here in a hurry. So if our listeners want to grab a pencil and a paper, because we're going to come back with some contact information for Alan if you have any questions. This is the Senior Moment Show. Again, we are sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group. If you'd like to learn more about them, you can do so online at empoweringseniors.info. We're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Tyler. Recently, my father passed away, and White Pine provided the funeral services for our family. They were friendly, thoughtful, and attentive to every detail. You know, it isn't often that a loved one passes away, so it was very important to my family that everything be handled just right. Because my dad was loved by so many people, we had a lot of family and friends that traveled from out of town. I really appreciate how White Pine Funeral Services made sure everyone was comfortable and that the focus was where it needed to be, on my dad and my family. They really took care of us during this tender time.
White Pine Funeral Services, here when you need us most. I think Mom needs a little more help.
What I really need is a boyfriend who can drive at night.
Hi, this is Bruce with Comfort Care. With Comfort Care at your side, you can live your best life possible. We know families can't be there 24/7, which is why we can help with as little or as much home care as you need, so you can live in your own home on your own terms.
Could you give me a phone number? My daughter was texting.
Together with Comfort Care, you can live your best life possible. Call us today at 754-7676. That's 754-7676.
Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad.
No problem, sweetie.
I can't believe you're able to fit everything in that little sedan.
Bye!
When they move out, you can move on to a house that fits your life. It's time to live in a space that fits your family.
Hi, this is Sid Roeder with Achievement Realty.
Let me help you to find a home that suits your needs and is less to take care of. Save money or even make money on the sale of your current home. Call me today at 512-6406, then list it, sell it, and move on.
And welcome back to the Senior Moment Show. My name is Bryce Patton here with Sid Roeder, my co-host, and we've been speaking with Alan Thorne, owner of RT Med Mobile. Alan, you were telling us the difference, different things that insurance covers and what might be cash pay. If people have questions about that and want to pick your brain, what's good contact information for you?
Oh, perfect. The best contact information is actually straight to our office, which the phone number is 435-260-6171. And again, that's 435-260-6171. That's the best way to get an appointment with me. And then once I meet with you and you need more personalized interaction, I tend to actually give people my cell phone number just so they can get better, faster updates.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. Let's maybe get a little bit about the specific products that you sell, because some of the terminology, I have to say, is a little hard for me to understand, and probably for everyone else, because I know there's the chairs that look like recliners that help you get up and pump you out of your seat. Let's maybe dive into the products that you sell.
Oh, perfect. And yeah, it's actually funny as I have these discussions with people, most of this equipment and assistive devices that we need, most of us are going to need at some point during our lives, but no one ever talks about them. So just for some clarification, earlier the terms I said were stair lift, vertical platform lift, elevating recliner. Those aren't terms people are familiar with. So to break them down a little bit, a vertical platform lift is a way to get from one level to another level in your home. Now, this is not to be confused with an elevator, which is to go from one floor to another. But a lot of times people have, a small landing in their home they have to get up, or especially on a front porch. We're seeing this where you got 5 or 6 stairs going up to the porch. A vertical platform lift is something that you can drive a power chair on and hit a button, and it elevates you up to the level of your porch so that you then can have a level entry in. Many of these will have weight capacities of 800 pounds, so you can drive your power chair onto it and get up and in. Where those are really beneficial is when there's not enough room to put a ramp, for example. So whenever we do a ramp, for every 1 inch of rise that I go up on a platform, I have to do 12 inches of run, which means if I need to go up 30 inches, I have to have a ramp that's 30 feet long. That takes up a lot of space. So when we can go in and look at these platform lifts, that takes up a very small footprint, and it just vertically raises you up, gets you onto your porch, and does essentially what a ramp would do, but tends to be actually a little bit more cost effective and take up a lot less space. So
people might notice this by some of those accessible vans or buses, that lift that comes down. It's similar to that, just built into the home.
Exactly. Yeah. So when I say vertical platform lift, that's what I'm referring to. Most people aren't familiar with them, and we don't see a lot, but we've actually found, like I said, sometimes they are cheaper than putting a whole ramp in. So that's one thing I encourage when I do that home assessment. Another one that I mentioned is an elevating recliner. Some people know those as a lift chair. Not to be confused with a power chair, where a power chair is a wheelchair that you use to get around your home. A lift chair is a recliner that has an electric actuator in it that helps you to stand up, gets you into a standing position, and many of them also help you to lean back, get your feet above the level of your heart, help with circulation. we work with medical grade lift recliners. So those also help with pressure relief, help to prevent pressure sores if people are in the chair for a long time. And that's all part of the assessment. The final one we talked about are stair lifts, which most people are familiar with those. It's just a chair on a rail you can sit in at the top or the bottom of the stairs, and it moves you to the other end and safely gets you off again. So those are some of the big home modifications we're doing that we customize to people's homes.
So it sounds to me a little bit that the in-house call is actually very important, because that's what gives you an opportunity to assess the situation and maybe recommend something that might save money. I mean, do you ever get phone calls and people are asking for something in specific, and then you get there and you're like, you don't even need what you asked for?
Oh yes, all the time. And that's really, as you said, that's the biggest benefit of having an expert in your home with you, is there's resources available that people don't even know exist. Most people, when they realize they need access to their home or they get their first wheelchair, the first place they go is, I need a ramp. And I can go and look at the situation, and we can establish that, a platform lift is going to save you several $1,000s, take up less space, be easier to remove if the home's ever sold. And most people I talk to don't even realize that's an option. So to have me in the home makes a big difference.
And now with those platform lifts and different things, do you always have to use a wheelchair, or could it be just for other means?
Oh, no. Yeah, anybody can use them. And like I said, the biggest benefit is the high weight capacity. So in the event a wheelchair becomes the thing that you need later down the line, you can use it. I've got people that use them with their walkers. Or even if they can walk, but because of an injury or a disability, they have a hard time climbing stairs, they can hold on to that rail, raise them up to their level, and walk in. The weight capacity is just, the max we can put on it. But anybody can use them, as long as they're within the limits of that weight capacity, and we should be good to go.
So let's maybe talk a little bit about, I'm sure because I know there's some assistive technology that you haven't touched on. What does somebody do when you come in the house? Can you recommend other companies that have things that maybe you can sell or don't sell? Do you refer people to the right spot?
Oh, definitely. So one question I get on a regular basis is if we take care of CPAPs, oxygen concentrators, and that is one thing we don't do. My specialty individually is home mobility and home accessibility. So that's everything RT Med Mobile focuses on, is how to safely get around your home. So when it comes to respiratory equipment like CPAPs, oxygen concentrators, portable oxygen concentrators, while I personally don't work with them, I network very closely with other companies that help clients that are in the same field as me. That's something very important to me, is having those relationships. So if someone were to reach out to me with questions, they are more than welcome. And if I don't provide the equipment, I'm more than happy to send them to someone that I trust, that I think will take good care of them. And that's something I'm always happy to do whenever people have a need that way.
Okay, again, real quick, you want to share your phone number or the office phone number, so if they do have those questions and concerns, they can reach out to you?
Definitely. The office phone number is 435-260-6171. Again, that's 435-260-6171.
And really quick before we head into our second break, do you have a brick and mortar position, or do you have a store that somebody can come to, or do you exclusively work in people's homes?
So I prefer to work in people's homes. That's where I think we provide the best service, but we do have an office up in North Logan, and people are welcome to walk in. We do tend to have a lift chair or two on display in there. People can test out and try if they want. But primarily, I prefer to be in people's homes because I want to see where they're using the equipment and be able to make recommendations from there.
That sounds great. And do you want to mention that location really quick, Alan?
Yeah, we're at 2057 North, 200 East. We've got a sign up front that says RT Med Mobile. We're in the east side of the Four Seasons there in North Logan.
Thank you very much. This is the Senior Moments Show. Again, we are sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group. If you'd like to learn more about them, you can do so online at empoweringseniors.info. We're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Did you know 1 in 3 people will visit a nursing home? Did you know that once there, they will stay there for an average of 3 years? Did you also know there are insurance options that can help cover this experience? Hi, I'm Tracy Ferris with Blue Water Health Insurance. It's not cheap to stay in a full-fledged nursing home. Long-term care insurance can help you or a loved one get the care they need and deserve. If you wait until you need it, you may be too late. Give me a call at 435-890-8155.
At Maple Springs Senior Living in North Logan, we understand that entrusting the care of your loved one to someone else is a decision not taken lightly. That's why we go above and beyond to create a nurturing environment where your family becomes our family.
When I found Maple Springs, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. The staff here really cares, and Mom is thriving.
The activities and social events have brought so much joy to Dad's life. I can see a positive change every time I visit.
We know that your loved one's well-being is your top priority, and it's ours too. Learn more at maplesprings.living.com.
And welcome back to the Senior Moment Show. My name is Bryce Patton, here with Sid Roeder. And Alan Thorne, owner of RT Med Mobile, has been telling us all things complex mobility today. And Alan, we were talking over the break about payment sources and kind of lead times, kind of what that looks like. Let's dive into the insurance process, because that can be pretty daunting. But you've been doing this for 7 years, so you kind of want to walk us through that process and like the time frame that takes to get everything approved and delivered to your home.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So anything we discussed, before the break, we talked about platform lifts, ramps, stair lifts. Unfortunately, Medicare primarily does not pay for those. Most health insurances won't pay for them. There's a few very kind of obscure funding sources that will sometimes help with those. Most of the general population doesn't qualify. So the places that we can bill insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, private insurances, tends to be in what's called the complex rehab world. That involves seating systems, beds, powered wheelchairs, and manual wheelchairs. And getting them can be a bit of a process. And this is one place that people are always a little disappointed to find out what's going on, because what we need, if we're going to get a powered wheelchair, if someone comes to me and needs a power chair and we look at alternatives and that's the best option for them, first thing we need is what's called a face-to-face visit with the doctor. This isn't a prescription. We can't just call the doctor and say, hey, can you sign a paper saying I need this? They need to actually have a physical meeting with their provider to just specifically discuss that they need this piece of equipment, and the doctor has to document that they did discuss that in their visit. Once I get those notes, I will actually do my own paperwork as an assistive technology professional. People will hear me use the term ATP. And that is a way that I can prescribe the specific equipment that's required. Then I work with a physical or an occupational therapist who writes their own justification, justifying to the insurance company specifically why this individual needs the equipment that we're recommending. And we're breaking everything down. On a power chair, we're going to talk about why you need a joystick and why you need batteries and why you need each individual cushion we put on that chair. From there, I can submit to Medicare or the other insurance company for authorization. Total timeline on this, if we can move quick and everything goes well, we're looking between 2 and 3 months before the actually chair gets delivered, because Medicare has to authorize it. Once we have the authorization, we can order and then deliver. It is a slow process. Under those conditions, I tend to try to find ways to help people get a chair they can use in the meantime. But to set realistic expectations, getting through insurance on some of this equipment can be quite a tedious process. But it's what we specialize in, and we're very, very good at it.
So are there places that people can just rent a chair for that time frame? How does that work?
Definitely. So I work with a few organizations that offer rental options. We have our own small rental fleet, and when we have equipment available, we usually are willing to loan it out and rent it during that interceding time. And then, like I said, there's other resources here in the Valley that are wonderful to work with. I can help people get in touch with those so they have access to the equipment they need while we work through that process.
Okay, so that's through insurance. What about if someone was needing a stair lift or something like that? What's the lead time on that? Since that's not covered by insurance, you probably don't need to jump through those hoops. What's the process on that?
That one can be much quicker. So how that's always going to work, when I come to someone's home and we establish, you need a stair lift, I would take the measurements there on site, figure out what we need. Now, unfortunately, I don't have something on the shelf because every single home is different. We're custom ordering this equipment. But once the person says, yes, I would like that, and they approve the price that I submit to them, usually we're 3 to 4 weeks max before that gets delivered to me, customized to their home, and then I can bring it out and get it installed. So that goes a whole lot faster. It's a much smoother process.
Alan, we're only 2 minutes away from the end of our show, so I almost want to ask you, are there any items we haven't mentioned yet, any processes that you still would like to discuss?
I think most of what we discussed probably covers primarily what we specialize in. And as far as getting people safe in their homes, the only other thing, if people are scared about the costs or the financial burden of some of these, I still encourage you to call, because I can come out for free. We can sit down, see what the options are, see what the cost is going to be, and make a plan. If we have to work with you on financing, if we have to work with you on a payment plan, whatever we have to do to make sure you're safe, we're willing to work on a case-by-case basis there. But until you have the expert in your home going over the equipment, it's really hard to know what it needs to be done, what resources are available, and what it's going to cost. So to have that free visit is well worth your time.
Now, this brings up another point as we're talking about mobility, but real quick, because we're ending close to our show, but when someone's able to move freely on their own, what does it do to their emotional state?
Oh, I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this answer, but it's huge. When people have independent mobility, mentally and emotionally, they can be so much healthier. And if we were to look at studies, and I'm trying to keep this short, but we're trying, children who are not going to be able to walk independently, we're trying to get in a power chair before they're 2 years old. Because having that independent mobility, being able to control where they go, helps mental development on a huge, huge level. And when people lose their mobility when they get older, we tend to see a faster decline. So we're trying to keep that mobility as long as we possibly can, because it makes a difference in all aspects of their life.
Thank you, Alan. And it's just enough time to give you a phone number one more time.
The phone number is 435-260-6171.
Thank you. This is the Senior Moment Show. We're at the end. We hope you tune in again next week.